Story 1. If you ignore bullies, they will not go away. Instead, they often realize you will not respond and continue to push you around. Story 2. Get a job you love and you will never work a day in your life. For most people, the better advice is, get a job you do not hate, that pays well, and that respects your work-life balance. Then your life outside of work will be quite enjoyable. Story 3. Do not go to bed angry. Sometimes you just need to cool down and get some sleep so it does not ruin the next day. Being tired can lead to saying things you do not mean. Story 4. Just be yourself. For many people, being yourself is difficult. Story 5. Following your passion is great if it pays the bills, but awful if it leaves you broke and stressed. Story 6. He is just mean to you because he likes you. Are you setting your daughter up to accept abuse as love? Are you okay? Story 7. If it is not broken, do not fix it. Some things work and we continue to use them, but they could be greatly improved. Story 8. The customer is always right is bad advice. It encourages unfair demands and disrespects employees. Story 9. Do a job you love and you will love your work. Otherwise, it can make you hate what you love because you have to do it instead of wanting to do it. Story 10. Urinating on a jellyfish sting. If you want to urinate on a friend or have a friend urinate on you, ask first. You do not need to involve a jellyfish. Story 11. Clean your plate is archaic nonsense, especially in places like restaurants where you do not control portion sizes. It encourages unhealthy eating habits and does not prevent starvation elsewhere. You bought the food and the farmer has been paid. The food on your plate was not about to be sent to a starving region before you ordered it. Eat until you are satisfied, then stop. Story 12. What does not kill you makes you stronger. It will probably make you weaker, bitter, and scared. Story 13. Never give up. There has been a great deal of research on this. See the book Quit by Annie Duke. More often than not, we stick with decisions we made out of stubbornness when our best option is to move on. Story 14. Going to college or university is the best route to the career you want. That can be true, but it can also become a 3-year debt burden that follows you if you cannot get the job you want. Story 15. If at first you do not succeed, try again. You also have to know when an endeavor is no longer worth pursuing. If you have tried many times and still fail, continuing can cause serious trouble. For example, my father gave me that advice about dating. I learned the hard way that if you do not get a yes the first time, trying again can result in a harassment claim. Story 16. The 5-second rule applies to eating food that has been dropped on the floor. Story 17. Follow your passions. If your passion is to become a dancer but you cannot dance, have no money, and have no contacts in the scene, keep it as a hobby. Pursuing it as a career may bankrupt you. Story 18. Trust your gut. Many people with anxiety disorders have trouble with this. Story 19. Good things come to those who wait. Now, good things come to those who order online with express shipping. Sitting around does nothing. It only makes you late and hungry. Patience is fine, but action pays the rent. Story 20. Telling little girls they are being mean to you because they like you is very damaging to their brains. Would you tell a grown woman that? No. So why do we tell girls that abuse equals love? Story 21. Don't attribute to malice what can be explained by stupidity. Often it is malicious stupidity or plain malice. Some people like hurting others, and this trope lets these assholes off. Story 22. Do not go to bed angry. Forget that. Get some sleep and see how you feel in the morning. I have often slept off my anger and realized I was experiencing a fight or flight reaction and needed to cool off. I wake up and softly say, "Hey, sorry for my role in last night's argument. I lost myself. I think we can get past this quickly if you are okay talking about it over breakfast." Story 23. All the success mindset nonsense. If you visualize your success and surround yourself with successful people, you will be beaten by someone who used that time to do the work. Story 24. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Bullcrap. Carrying your 33-year-old sister out of the house and placing her in the medical examiner's van can mentally break you. Story 25. Practice makes perfect. That's only true if you practice perfectly. I bowl and frequently catch myself having to take a week or two off to reset bad habits. If I doubled down and practiced instead, I would likely further reinforce what I'm doing wrong. Story 26. Some say a big breakfast sets you up for the day, but others say it makes you sluggish and causes hunger after an energy crash. Story 27. Spare the rod, spoil the child. There is no good reason to hit your kids. Story 28. Treat people the way you want to be treated. It turns out we all want and are comfortable with different things. Story 29. The phrase, "the worst they can say is no," encourages making a big ask of someone. Sometimes asking for too much can damage the relationship. Story 30. Never give up. Oftentimes it is better to cut your losses and move on to save yourself time, effort, and money. Story 31. Never go to bed angry. This advice is flawed because tired people are more likely to say things they do not mean, which can make the argument worse. A better suggestion is to eat a sandwich, go to bed, and revisit the conversation in the morning. Story 32. Write what you know. Why not write what you can imagine? Story 33. Just eat until you're full and stop. It's that simple. Apparently, it is not that simple. Some people have a condition called leptin resistance, caused by years of poor dieting, which prevents the brain from feeling satisfied because of decreased leptin uptake. Story 34. Fake it until you make it. You really cannot in some situations. Story 35. Always trust your gut or instincts. Well, not if you have any mental illness. Story 36. A bad craftsman always blames his tools. Sometimes the tools are inadequate even for a master craftsman. Story 37. Community colleges and trade schools are not for losers or unintelligent people. That perception is false. We need skilled manual labor workers who attend trade schools and perform the jobs many of us, often privileged office-bound workers, will not or cannot do. I love seeing blue-collar workers start their own businesses and use the hard-earned skills they learned at a trade school to build successful, high-earning lives for themselves. Community college also lets students who do not know what they want to do with the rest of their lives save money while completing general education classes. They can do well in those lower-level classes, transfer to a four-year college or university, and excel once they decide on a career and pursue a Bachelor of Science or other degree. Story 38. If you have nothing nice to say, do not say anything. Fuck that. There is a difference between being an asshole and calling someone out on their shit. Story 39. If it's yellow, let it mellow. If it's brown, flush it down. I think this is more common in the country with rainwater systems. My grandfather's partner at the time had a crude plaque with that quote and a chubby baby urinating on it, with flowers around it. The toilet water was often yellow and musky. Sometimes I would just urinate outside. Squatting with the possibility of bull ants crawling up my leg or a snake biting me seemed like a better option. I did not want to use the toilet and have watered-down urine splash back at me. Story 40. Follow your heart. Modern society developed over at least 5,000 years, so it may be wise to follow the examples laid out. Follow your passion with an informed plan. Story 41. Fake it until you make it. Confidence is good, but faking expertise too far just creates imposters who never learn the real skills. It is how you get overpromising startups and incompetent managers. Story 42. Following your passion sounds great until rent says otherwise. Story 43. Follow your heart is not good advice. You have a brain for a reason. Feelings change all the time. They are not a reliable guide. Story 44. The whole happy wife, happy life idea bothers me. Why can't there be clear communication so both partners are happy? The saying implies the wife is always right and the husband is wrong, or that he should just accept it. A truly great partnership is when both people are happy together. Story 45. I don't know if this counts, but never go to bed angry is a nice thought. Some things do benefit from sleeping on them. Story 46. If you think someone has a concussion, take them to a medical professional and allow them to sleep. I once had a concussion. It was the worst headache of my life, despite years of frequent headaches and several migraines a year. I knew this and begged to be allowed to sleep, but my family thought I was wrong and kept me awake. That was not fun. I do not recommend slipping on spilled water while running to the kitchen because you are startled by a scary movie. Story 47. Follow your passion. When it becomes your job, it ceases to be one. Story 48. Ask for forgiveness, not permission. No, you should ask for permission. Story 49. Doing the same thing and expecting different results is not the definition of insanity. It is the definition of science, practice, and training. Story 50. That whole follow your passion and the money will come idea seems terrible to me. Passion alone does not pay the bills. Without a solid plan, you are more likely to end up frustrated than wealthy. Story 51. Don't go to bed angry. There is a good chance you are only angry because it is late and you are tired. If you try to stay awake and force a resolution, you will make things worse. On the other hand, if you go to bed and sleep on it, you will feel much better in the morning. Story 52. In general, common sense is a poor phrase. It assumes a shared upbringing, sense of morality, and culture. Story 53. Regarding spiders, snakes, or other venomous creatures. It is the babies you have to watch out for because they do not know how to assess a threat or regulate their use of venom. In fact, adults have more venom because they have larger venom glands. Story 54. Don't judge a book by its cover. I work with people. Trust me. I can tell almost everything I need to know about you from the cover. I am rarely surprised anymore. Story 55. The phrase "if something is worth doing, it is worth doing" properly implies that it is better not to bother trying than to give anything less than 100%. I do not have time for that. Story 56. Never go to bed angry sounds like wise advice, but it can backfire. Story 57. Be good, work hard, and you will end up where you want to be. Nope. Story 58. Treat others the way you would want them to treat you sounds fair and virtuous, but in our competitive society you are often exploited. Sad but true from experience. Story 59. Do not go to sleep angry. Sometimes you are too tired to make sense. It is better to pause and go to bed. It will look different in the morning. You will either reconcile or be able to discuss it with more clarity. Story 60. Good things come to those who wait. No, good things come to those who go after them. Story 61. Follow your passion sounds nice, but turning a hobby into your entire livelihood can kill the joy and still leave you broke. Story 62. If it is not broken, do not fix it. Preventive maintenance. Story 63. The idea that you should always follow your passion is often presented as common sense. In reality, not everyone has an interest that can sustain a career or pay the bills. Chasing something unrealistic can lead to debt and frustration. A better approach is to build skills that provide stability while pursuing passion projects on the side. Telling people to only follow their passion oversimplifies life and can do more harm than good. Story 64. I recently learned that 8 hours of sleep is not a hard rule. If you feel fatigued trying to reach it, try sleeping less. The healthy range appears to be 5 to 11 hours, and about 6 hours is my sweet spot. Story 65. In the United States, there is a common idea of attending your dream college to experience your college years. If you earn scholarships and have most of your tuition covered, by all means do it. However, if you do not, there is nothing wrong with pursuing your education in a more financially practical way. Attending a large in-state or out-of-state school for the experience can lead to substantial student loan debt. These loans are often issued with little or no financial counseling. Story 66. The customer is not always right. Some customers are simply loud and wrong. Story 67. Do not date people at work. Workplaces, especially when you are young and the jobs are entry-level and informal, are great places to meet people. Story 68. Follow your passion. Great way to end up broke if your passion is napping. Story 69. Sleep when the baby sleeps. Clearly advice meant for parents who are not working and do not have other responsibilities besides the baby. Story 70. I would like to note that the term common sense does not really mean anything, and it certainly does not mean what it originally meant when it was first coined. Using the term assumes a basic level of practical judgment or knowledge of facts that any adult ought to possess. But psychological research shows there is no such universal baseline beyond basic bodily needs like eating, eliminating waste, and avoiding death. Even those are variations of approaching what feels good and avoiding what feels bad. Originally, Aristotle coined the term common sense to explain how the different physical senses converge, distinct from rational thought. He was imagining and anticipating the brain systems that coordinate the body's perceptions of the outside world. Story 71. Always play it safe. Sometimes taking risks is the only way to grow. Story 72. Believing that being married and having children is an achievement in life you should worry about fulfilling. Story 73. Measuring commitment in a relationship by moving in together, sharing a bed, or having children ruins perfectly good relationships and puts unnecessary pressure and judgment on people who are not seeking those things. Story 74. Fake it until you make it. Now, be authentic and work hard at what you do. I understand the idea of building confidence, but everyone I have met who lives by this motto has been either a narcissist or someone who benefited from nepotism. Story 75. Trust your gut. This approach gets people into trouble constantly around the world. Story 76. Happy wife, happy life is terrible advice. The worst thing you can do to your partner is never push back and let their happiness become the sole purpose of the relationship. They will end up completely unhappy, and so will you. Story 77. Some version of family comes first, or blood is thicker than water. Family is important, but it should not be an excuse for harmful, abusive behavior or escaping accountability. Story 78. Love your neighbor as yourself. For someone like me with low self-esteem, this is terrible advice. Story 79. Buying parts, glasses, or other items elsewhere to save money is a great way to alienate or anger the people helping you. It will also cause them to raise prices elsewhere to make up the difference, so in the long term everyone pays more. This applies to almost every business. Story 80. Hard work often pays off, but sometimes it only makes you tired. Nonsense about things outside your control and being strategic about what you can control may or may not pay off. Story 81. In my native language we call common sense by another name, peasant's reasoning. Story 82. Trust the experts. I am an expert in a few areas and a complete idiot. Do not blindly trust experts, and certainly do not trust whoever the local news manages to drag onto their show. Story 83. If you wait, it will come to you. First of all, what will come to you? Why should you wait? Why don't you go get it if that is what you want? My parents never gave me that advice. I heard it in a movie. I think it was Field of Dreams. Story 84. Treat others how you want to be treated. That rule lasts until you see how they behave toward you, after which you respond in kind. Story 85. Whenever people say nobody cares, nobody saw, or I would do the same thing, I feel it is a call to conform. Conforming makes sense to a point, but if I drop something on the ground, I do not expect people to care or judge me for it. Story 86. If attacked by a shark, do not punch its nose. Aim for the eyes or gills. Story 87. The customer is always right. That one causes more problems than it solves. Story 88. Cooler heads prevail. I should review my thoughts and later address the situation with a clear, calm mind free of anger. Story 89. The modern interpretation of turn the other cheek is that people think it means standing and taking abuse. It actually has a much deeper cultural context, encouraging people to gray rock their opponents and subtly prompt them to go too far and make fools of themselves in public. Story 90. In this thread, many people misunderstand the meanings of common sayings. Story 91. Do not validate toxic behaviors or deny the obvious. If someone says they did not know they were going to do that to you, remember that if you do not know, do not do it and imagine someone doing it to you. If someone says they had a bad day, that does not justify making you suffer. If someone claims they had no intention, ask why they did it. If someone says they did not mean it, ask why they said it. Suffering does not justify making others suffer. Isabella Nardoni says a father is a father and he always loves his children. Story 92. Respect your elders. It is earned, not freely given. Story 93. So many people here are taking turns of phrase far too literally or completely misinterpreting the meaning because they do not actually have common sense. There is an irony there. Story 94. Follow your passion. Most people's passions do not pay the bills. Better advice. Get good at something valuable, and you may develop a passion for it. I know too many broke artists and wealthy accountants who started out thinking accounting was boring. Story 95. Never trust lizard farmers. But some lizard farmers can be trusted. Story 96. The phrase follow your passion and the money will follow sounds inspiring, but often sets people up for financial stress and disappointment. Story 97. The phrase the customer is always right ruins service jobs more than customers ever did. Story 98. Always be yourself. There are many situations where you should not be. For example, actors can be ineffective if they are just being themselves. Story 99. The golden rule really falls apart when applied to submissive and dominant scenarios. Story 100. My partner and I tell our children not to start fights but also not to let themselves be beaten. We both find the rule do not hit back to be silly and not helpful. We were once called to the principal's office because our son hit another child, and it was upsetting. It turned out the other boy had been hitting other children. After my son told him to stop, he punched him and went on with his day. I gave him a cheeseburger as a reward and explained that what he did was serious but justified. The adults had ignored the children's complaints about the other boy. Since my son did not start the fight and had asked the other boy to stop, I did not take issue with his response. Story 101. The saying do not go to bed angry is not helpful. Everyone needs time and space to calm down and regain control of their emotions. Arguing in the moment only makes things worse. Go to bed and resolve the issue later when you are thinking clearly. Story 102. Spending $5,000 on a bed? Just put the money into the Standard and Poor's 500 index and sleep on the floor. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.